YouTube France Hopper here. It's the 30th of October, Friday, and if you've been watching some of my recent videos, you can probably guess what is inside, but regardless, tonight we have an unboxing. And if you didn't guess what it is, well, that's what it is. This is the new Apple TV. It's the 4th generation Apple TV. So this is what the front of the box looks like. The sides are all completely blank. Unfortunately, they ditched the little bit of humor the dev kit had, which was not yet, or as parentheses, not yet, and parens, seen on TV. Anyway, here is the back, which is just as simple, really. There's not much to this, just some of the specs. This is the 32 gig model, which is $150. So yes, this is more expensive than the Roku 4. And as one thing that you'll probably hear a lot of reviews point out right now, it's more expensive than the Roku 4, and yet it's, I think, the only major streaming box right now that does not do 4K. Roku 4, of course, does 4K. I found out that Amazon's Fire TV also does 4K, so I think the Roku actually wasn't first to that. But, nonetheless, no, this does not do 4K. But I don't have a 4K TV, so I'm actually just fine with that. Now, ooh, wow, I didn't even need a black stick to get this started. This actually is really easy to open, which I like. So, by the way, I don't know how well you can see on the camera here, but the Apple TV is actually kind of embossed into the box. You can probably see from the light reflections. And ta-da! There it is. That's what it looks like. This, of course, being the Apple TV, and this being the very, 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 very badly needed new remote. If you've never seen a current generation Apple TV remote, this is what it looks like. And you push on these a lot. With the Apple Watch, you can have the remote as your screen, which probably played a little bit of an influence into the Siri remote. Granted, you can of course do the same thing with the remote app on an iOS device. So it made sense that this has the glass trackpad that it does. So this is what it looks like. It's nice and thin. Looks like aluminum backing. And of course the front has a nice glass trackpad, which does click. You've got your menu button, source, Siri, play, pause, volume, rocker, up, down. So this can control the volume on a supported TV. Mine being the LG monitor you see over there does probably not support that. And regardless, my speakers are also hooked up to a VO amp, so that's actually kind of useless to me. Oh well. So here's the microphone on the back. This is the lightning port here. Actually, I take that back. That's the noise canceling mic. The actual mic is in front here in the trackpad. But again, lightning cable port on the top, since this is rechargeable. Or actually, it could be on the bottom here. It could be on the top and the bottom. I'm actually not sure there. But I think this is supposed to be Bluetooth this time around, so I don't think it's supposed to be IR unless that's an IR port just for the volume. But that being said, that's another difference between this and the Roku. The Roku's remote uses Wi-Fi Direct. This is supposed to be Bluetooth. Enough about the remote. Here's the box, which, yes, is larger than the current generation Apple TV, which looks like that. So, yep, it's a bit taller. Otherwise, the form factor is actually exactly the same. And with any luck, I can even steal the power cord that's in my current one. So, on the back, let's get started unwrapping this. Let's see, where do we start here? Here we are. Move that tab, and it actually can just slide out. So there it is. It looks really just like the current one, except, you know, thicker, and it's definitely heavier as a result. I don't know if this has a physical hard drive in here or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it's solid state, given that, you know, Apple does pretty much everything solid state now. It doesn't make much sense to put a hard drive actually in here. This isn't the first generation Apple TV, which did have an actual hard drive. On the back, pull that to reveal. Not very rubbery, but it's supposed to be an anti-slip surface, and of course the Apple logo. If we take the rest of the side off, here's what you've got in the back. On your left, you've got power, which looks like it should be the same port as the current Apple TV. I don't know if it requires more power, though. We'll find out as soon as I take the power cord out. In the middle, you've got HDMI and USB-C. USB-C is used for development, so the dev kits actually came with a nice black USB-C cable. And on the right, you've got the Ethernet port, which I'm really hopeful this time is gigabit. I believe this should at least have 802.11c, as well as Bluetooth 4. And while I've got the box in front of me, let's see. No. This still does not do gigabit Ethernet, still 10/100 base T. That's very surprising, but that probably means that there's even less of a chance that this will do 4K streaming as a result. 4K streaming really requires a very good network connection. So if we set that aside and go back to the box, here's the power cable, which looks like the current one. So you know what? I'm going to try and reuse the current power cable that's in the Apple TV right now, because that will save me of having to, you know, bend down to get that. In here, we have some documentation, which is pretty thin. You know, user manual guide sort of deal, your Apple stickers here, and some TV info, legal stuff, which is so unexciting it doesn't even need to be in focus. You also have a lightning cable to charge the remote. I'm probably just going to leave that in there because I've got a ton of lightning cables already, and that part does not remove. So let's set that aside, slightly reassemble the box, and let's find out here if I can simply hook this up with the existing power cord. And yes, I do have to steal the HDMI cable from my Roku because I don't have enough HDMI inputs on my monitors to support all of my streaming boxes in at the same time. So let's grab the Ethernet here, and with any luck, this will work. Let's find out. It's going in, and we do have a blinking light. Wonderful. Let's pan up here, and it came up briefly. There we go. Wonderful. So I don't have to put a new power cable in. Perfect. And I actually never unwrapped the remote, so let's really quickly unwrap the remote. And drop it instantly. That was a really good one. That being said, it survives the drop test, and yes, you can drop your remote to pair it. I would not recommend doing that, though. Yeah, anyway, it's paired, and as I move my finger around, this, of course, moves pretty nicely. Let's actually turn the speakers on so we get some sound going here. So gone are the kind of clicks of the previous Apple TVs. Let's go with English, United States, Oh, and you do actually have to click. This doesn't seem to support tap to click. So let's set up with my iPhone, which is nice and close here. So let's position this like so. Let's see. There we go. Do you want to set up your Apple TV? Yes, I do. So now we are attempting to set up. So enter Apple ID and password on my phone, which is nice and handy. Sorry, I've got a stupidly long password, which I hopefully did not fat finger. And I also have, as you can see, two-step authentication, so let's do that. And I'm not a huge fan of the new keyboard that is now in the Apple TV, which is kind of like YouTube style. Yeah, not my favorite. I don't think you can dictate text right now either, which kind of sucks, but I'm sure you can still use phone as a keyboard for some stuff. And it wants my password again. Let's try again. And now my phone wants to know if I want it to remember my password. Yes, since I'm the only one that'll be using it. So next question is, do you want to send data to Apple? I'm fine with that, because that's useful for debugging. So now we switch over to the Apple TV, and location services will be handy to have. That's used for weather, which you can get from Siri now. There's probably a weather app already available for Apple TV. And of course your location is also used for finding movie times, things like that. Let's definitely use Siri. I absolutely want to use the new screensavers. And yes, Apple can really get diagnostics, as can app developers. And I agree to disagree to all of that. And there you have it. It seems to be set up. One thing I am seeing already is none of my apps from the existing Apple TVs seem to have come over. So you probably have to install all of the apps that you want this time. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can kind of move your finger, around and have the parallax 3D on the screen, which is a neat gimmick. So let's see what apps are available. I definitely want HBO, but not now. Let's get Showtime. Whoop. And so much for having it remember my password. Let's see if the remote app on iOS has been updated to support the new Apple TV yet, and if it will allow me to use a keyboard. It looks like remote for iOS has not. This is going to be painful. In the meantime, infinite loop. Oh man, I definitely will be adjusting the trackpad sensitivity. one thing that's really annoying here is there's no shift key. Yeah, we're gonna cut and come back once I've got my password in, so be right back. And we're back, and I'd never thought that I'd say it, but I already actually miss the click buttons. Typing in as long as a password as I had was extremely painful to do with the trackpad. However, it looks like the app has already installed instantly, which is pretty neat. So let's also get YouTube here. So channels, which are now apps, appear to be pretty small and they install really quickly. You know, a lot of the hard drive space is probably going to be used by games and things like that. I'm kind of surprised there isn't just a, you know, real quick, like, install everything that was available for the previous Apple TV. The other thing that I'm sure will be kind of clunky is, besides fat-fingering Siri, re-entering every single, you know, login that I have. And I just remembered that I didn't actually want Showtime. I wanted Showtime anytime. So let's just fast forward a bit here. Okay. Well, I guess those are featured, because I'm really hoping that all of the apps from the previous generation TV are available. Let's find out if we can Siri that. Siri, search for Crunchyroll on the App Store. Really? Download Crunchyroll from the App Store. Oh, come on, you can do that in iOS. Well, that's a disappointment. And it looks like you can't dictate text, which is also kind of a disappointment. Thank God there's only a handful of C apps, apparently. So, just looking at screenshots, it looks like, you know, everything, for the most part, still uses the same interfaces that have been in use from the previous Apple TV. You can still press and hold the menu key to go back to the main menu, and if you double click, that apparently does screensaver. Actually, one of the app switcher, which I guess I actually need to launch something to have work. I do have to say the chimes on here, to me, are a lot better. Let's see if all my purchased movies have already carried over. It looks like they have. So it looks like I don't have anything to AirPlay to. Oh, well, if you hold the AirPlay button, that's how you apparently activate sleep. Siri, what are some good Halloween movies? Not entirely what I was expecting. Sort by popularity. Well, anyway, there is finally Siri on the Apple TV, which probably has, you know, got a little bit of a learning curve still to do, but ultimately, you know, the Apple TV, the new one, is pretty similar to the existing one. You know, obviously the new UI is the biggest upgrade, as is probably the remote. So I will probably play around a little bit more with this later, and yeah, give you a review maybe a month from now or whatever of more detailed thoughts. For now, though, that's it.